Alice wasn't just my best friend. She was my sister in everything but blood. We met in college, two broke girls sharing a tiny dorm, sneaking cheap wine into our room, and pulling all-nighters that turned into deep conversations about life, love, and our dreams. When we graduated, we swore we'd always be there for each other, no matter what. Life moved fast. Careers, marriages, kids. But we stayed close. She was my maid of honor. I was hers. Our husbands, Ken and my husband, hit it off too, bonding over fishing, home projects, and cold beers in Ken's metal shop. Our lives were intertwined in the best possible way, but then Alice's world fell apart. And in the process, she dragged me into a nightmare I never saw coming. It started one quiet evening. Alice called me, voice shaking. "Ken wants a divorce. I nearly dropped my phone. Wait, what? Why?" She let out a broken laugh. "Because I work too much." Alice had always been ambitious. 3 years ago, she landed. A huge promotion that required her to travel often, sometimes months at a time. Ken, a tradesman, worked from home. Their marriage had been strained, but divorce? That was unthinkable. But then she told me the part that made my stomach turn. I forgot our vacation. I extended a business trip and I didn't tell him. He packed up while I was gone. Ken had silently decided he was done. No warnings, no fights, just gone. It felt brutal, cold. But when I spoke to my husband, his reaction was different. "Can you blame him?" he asked. She put her job over their family for years. He finally snapped. I didn't want to believe it. Alice was devastated. But Ken looked relieved, like he had been drowning for years and finally pulled himself onto dry land. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a sudden breakup. This had been building for years. Alice changed overnight. She stopped being the woman I knew. The first sign? The drinking. At first, I chalked it up to stress, but then it became a pattern. Drunk texting me at 2 a.m., posting wild Instagram stories, hanging out with people 10 years younger. And then, the hot tub incident. Ken had their 12-year-old daughter for the weekend. On Sunday night, he drove her home and walked into a horrific scene. Alice was blackout drunk. 2 younger men, interns from her office, were in the hot tub with her. The place was a disaster, empty bottles everywhere, clothes scattered. On the floor, Ken lost it, not by yelling, but by turning around and walking out. He shielded their daughter, put her back in the car, and drove away. Alice, still drunk, started screaming. She swore it was Saturday. She cursed at Ken, sending him a string of vile texts, telling him he was a failure, a loser, attacking his manhood, his career, everything. The next day, she didn't even remember. Ken showed my husband the texts. My husband showed me. And for the first time in my life, I felt disgusted by Alice, but she was my best friend, so I had to try. I met up with Alice, determined to pull her out of this spiral. But the moment I walked into her house, I knew it was hopeless. She laughed off the hot tub incident, called it blowing off steam. She ranted about how ungrateful Ken had been, how much money she made, how he should be the one crawling back to her, and then I made the mistake of asking if she had cheated. She went ballistic. "How dare you even ask me that?" she hissed, her face red with fury. But when I brought up the interns in her hot tub, she shrugged. They were legal. That sentence made my stomach turn. This wasn't Alice. This was someone else. But it got worse. As she packed for an upcoming business trip, something fell off. She said she was going to Dallas. But her suitcase told a different story. Sweaters, hiking boots, a beanie. Then I saw it. The thing that made my blood run cold. A Seattle Mariners jersey. Alice never watched baseball, ever. But there was one person who did. Her daughter's biological father. A man who had abused her, who had cheated on her while she was pregnant, kicked her out, and told her he never wanted anything to do with their child. And now, she was running back to him. My husband confirmed my worst fear. He found the ex's Facebook page. His profile picture was at a Mariners game. I called Alice, my voice shaking. "Are you really going to Dallas?" Silence. Alice, "Don't you dare lie." To me, "Are you going to Seattle?" A full minute of silence. Then, in a broken voice, "Yeah, I lost it. How could you?" I screamed. "After everything he did to you? To your daughter?" She started talking about how he had changed, how he wanted to meet his daughter. I saw red. "You're letting a monster back into her life," she told me, to back off, that she was a grown woman who could make her own choices. And that's when I said it. "If you get on that plane, we're done. Forever." She hesitated, but only for a second. "Then I guess we're done." I hung up. I blocked her number. I cried all night in my husband's arms. The next day, Ken came over. I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time. Then he just sighed. "I lost my wife," he said. "My daughter lost her mom. Alice got on that plane. She's gone." Sometimes the hardest thing in life isn't losing someone, it's watching them destroy themselves and realizing there's nothing you can do to stop it. I fought for Alice. I begged her to see reason. I stood by her side through heartbreak, betrayal, and self-destruction. But in the end, she made her choice. A choice that cost her everything. Her husband, gone. Her daughter, choosing to stay with Ken. Her best friend, me. I had to walk away. Because here's the painful truth. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. No matter how much history you share, no matter how much you love them, if they refuse to change, all you'll do is go down with them. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let them go. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved? Share your story in the comments below. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more shocking real-life stories. You never know when a story might change the way you see the world.